Hey everybody, it's your girl Keisha J. Kelly here with another episode of Black College Experience. But today is the debut of none other than, let me see if I can give y'all some kind of music, some kind of noise. I decided I want to test this out on him. I try to get a Braves background. I don't see if I can figure that out. I probably ain't gonna be able to find that either. I did it all at one time. Let me see if I can get some music though. I might can get some music up here. Let me see if I can find my music at the least. Yeah, I heard my little music. Yep, that's my little music. So today is the debut of Kellz Runs the Play. This is the first of many segments where we're going to bring a blast from the past to talk to an athlete from a HBCU to see where they are, what they're doing. And guess what? Yeah, I had to dig in the crates, and I like to call this man one of the terrors of the SWAC. Y'all, he was a SWAC nightmare. He was a SWAC nightmare when he played for Alcorn State. But listen, I hated when he played Southern University. Loved to watch him play, but I was so glad when this man graduated. But I'm not gonna hold it up because I don't want to take up his time. I want to respect his time. So we're gonna go ahead and bring on none other than former Alcorn State University Braves quarterback, Lennoris Footman.
Hello, hello.
Let's see if I can. Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know. Look like, oh, there you are. I'm saying, look like you froze or you're something, but I see you now. All right. So first, I'll say thank you so
You got
much
me.
for joining me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna say it's kind of delayed there. Okay. So first,
You
I'll
got
say,
me?
yeah, I do, but I think it's kind of delayed.
Okay.
All right. So if you can't hear me at any point, just let me know. Okay.
Gotcha.
All right, so we're gonna start off here. First and foremost, thank you for joining me today. Just to just see what you've been up to. Be the first guest on Kills Runs the Play. Like I said, we had to dig in the crates. I just shot my shot. I ain't know if it was going you was gonna be available. I didn't even know if I was gonna be able to find you. But when you responded, I was like, oh, he's still around. He's still breathing. So first, I'll say, how
Yep.
are you today? How you doing?
I'm great. Blessed by the best. Taking it one day at a time, doing what I can. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. The weather held out, so it's a good day because the weather did hold out and it did its thing. So I'm gonna just hop straight into it. Football was a part of your life. Take us back to that part. How did you get to football? Because you could have chose any sport, but football was your sport at Alcorn.
Um, so growing up, I had three older brothers. They all played football, so it was kind of follow the suit, join what they did. Always looked up to them. So it was either play football or nothing.
Now, is there any other sport that you play, or is it just strictly football?
So I played basketball, baseball, did a little bit of track, but football was the main sport for sure.
Okay, so you just playing all the sports. Was this all in high school?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
okay.
was.
Okay, so you just play all the sports. Okay, so we
Yep.
see how that became a part of your life. So then let's get to this. What led you to choose Alcorn for your HBCU playing experience?
Um, it was kind of easy choice. Coach Simmons, who recruited me, he was from Quincy, so he was kind of a nearby guy. He knew the area, came down, checked us out, and he took me up to a visit. Just felt right at home. So after that, met the guys, and the rest was history.
Now, did any other school recruit you? Anybody else recruit you?
I did. I had Murray State, FIU, couple the other D2 small schools, but those offers really didn't hold out. So Alcorn was the only offer that kind of maintained and stayed the course.
And so then you get to Alcorn. A lot of people sleep on HBCU talent. They sleep on HBCU football, but your
Hmm.
experience was completely different. And you talked about how Alcorn held out. Can you talk about the importance of HBCUs and in athletics in HBCUs?
I think it's big. Especially for me growing up Monticello. I knew about FAMU, which is a big HBCU. So I was immersed in that culture early on before I even knew about Alcorn. So I had family that went to FAMU. Always grew up going to FAMU homecoming. So once I got there, saw the campus, saw the community, I felt right at home. So um, that HBU lifestyle is a different. It's more of a family-based campus. You get there, everybody embrace you, so it's just a great feeling.
Okay, so then I'm gonna ask you why you didn't go to FAMU then.
So crazy enough, FAMU did not recruit me, and I was in their own backyard.
Yeah, it happens like that sometimes. You know, it happens like that
It
sometimes.
do, it do.
Now, so while you were there, so we talked about we know that it was in your own backyard. We know that Coach Simmons, you said, recruited you for Alcorn. Do you think that you got a lot of exposure playing at Alcorn?
Exposure as in terms of the next level.
Yes.
It's kind of hard to say. I think, like you said earlier, the HBCU football athletics don't really get a lot of shine. Um, but I'm a firm believer if you're if you're good enough, they'll find you. So we had guys like, the Lance, John Gibbs, the quarterback before me, Arnold Walker, the running back. So we had plenty of guys who got the opportunity to, progress to the next level. Fortunately, I didn't get that chance, but everything worked out. God has a plan for us all. So I think it can be a lot better. I think the more, the game changes, I think the more the coaches and the trend that's going on now with everybody shining a light on HBCUs, I could definitely see it increasing in the future.
Absolutely. Now, during your time, I'm not trying to make it like you old, but during your time, we know it was me, MEAC SWAC Challenge Celebration
Hmm.
Bowl. Since then,
Yep.
we have the exception. We have, the HBCU Legacy Bowl. There are so many other things. There's also SWAC TV, HBCU Go TV. What do you think that does for exposure for those athletes, male and female, for HBCUs?
It's big time. You get to reach a crowd that's not in the stadium. You get to reach people who have not even heard about those teams. So I think it's great. Even for me, when I was playing in the Celebration Bowl and the SWAC MEAC, I was able to, communicate back with my hometown and the people in my community and say, hey, you guys might not be able to, drive down to Mississippi or drive down to Orlando to watch the game, but we have this platform. You can see us on TV. And then a lot of people, once they saw that, it just created a trend and they just continued to tune in.
So you got your exposure, and now it's even bigger for these athletes. Now it's a everyday. Like, I can literally turn on the TV, of course, and we can just watch SWAC basketball, which is what I do because I'm in Atlanta. So it's like when I'm not at a game, I could just turn on the TV and watch SWAC basketball, which is huge. All these games, football, basketball, all of the sports from the SWAC are being advertised. On SWAC TV, HBCU Go TV, and so on. Now, let's look at something different. The transfer portal. We know the
Hmm.
transfer portal and NIL are two hot topics, two major things right now. What do you think first of the state of the transfer portal? Is it a good thing, bad thing, or are you indifferent on it? And then we'll talk about NIL.
Um, I think it's a good thing. I also think that the players have to be a little bit more informative about how it works. And you gotta also, at the end of the day, you gotta be a competitor for one. So you have to understand the situation you're in. You can transfer, but either if you transfer or stay where you at, you gotta compete. That's not gonna change wherever you go. Um, the bad downside of it is a lot of guys get in the transfer portal, and last time I read about it, I think they had over 10,000 players in it. So a lot of them get lost in the sauce and they end up on nowhere. They don't end up on a team. So I think it has its pros and cons, but ultimately, I think the guys who commit and are not afraid of that competition, no matter what school they're at, they weed themselves out no matter what.
Okay. So we talked about transfer portal. Now, what about NIL? NIL is that's also a hot topic. We see, mainly guys. We see girls and guys, but mainly guys that are moving and shifting, and not necessarily always in the HBCU landscape, but in Power Fives and other conferences, we see them shifting in these bigger schools with NIL. What do you think the state of NIL will be, let's say in just 5 years? Because we see where it is now. What do you think it'll be in like 5 years?
Well, first I say I love NIL deal. I think it's great. I'm all for the players getting paid. Um, Especially when you got certain players that bring certain type of crowd, that's bringing certain type of energy, that's bring a lot of aura to the game. And in 5 years, I see it kind of taking over the landscape. I see a lot of guys having a lot of control and say so of how they approach a team. Um, and I just think the power is in the players' hands because ultimately the players they're the ones who's out there, sacrificing their bodies, putting in the time. The fans come to see the players. They show up for the players. So I think in 5 years, I think a lot of players will be able to benefit from it. Sad to say we didn't get to benefit from it in our time, but but I'm glad the guys, in the game now are able to benefit from that.
Okay, let's just say you did get to benefit from it. Let's just say it was around your time. Any what particular brands? Is there anything in particular you would have wanted for NIL?
Honestly, I would have been happy with anything. And well, now that you say that, I kind of caught a little bit on the tail end. So it was maybe a year after I finished playing. A brand called Catapult Sports reached out and they had four pictures from the Celebration Bowl game. And they paid me quite a bit of money for those four pictures. So I was like, oh, man, that's pretty cool. And that's when I decided, like, the landscape is changing. And it just showed me, like, we put all this effort, this energy, a lot of emotion, passion in the game, and it's only right that we get a small reward for
Y'all, that's a bar. Y'all see how he slid that in there? They pay me a
it.
good bit amount of money. Listen, even if it was after the fact, because now people just copy paste and do whatever with your pictures and they
Yeah,
all over the place. But the fact that you were able to get paid off of it is a great thing. And I'm with you. I'm all for NIL. I feel like it's the same thing with the transfer portal. It can be a good thing or bad thing. For me, I always say I hate to see some of these athletes get in the transfer portal. I call it die in the portal because it's like you get stuck and you never get out. And I hate that
yeah,
when a lot of them are doing well where they are, but they feel like they can go somewhere and compete at another level, and that's fine too. But it's just like you said, you're going to be competitive no matter where you are, no matter where you go. You still have to compete. But hey, I'm all for it. The pictures, whatever you can get, pictures, whatever you can get out of it, I'm all for it. So now, how would you describe your culture, the culture of Alcorn football on game day? What was that like?
on game day,
Mm-hmm,
from my experience,
mm-hmm.
regular games and rivalry games and homecoming, two totally different experiences.
Okay, take us down each one by one.
Okay, so my experience, regular game, we have a little different experience. We have the pregame walkthroughs, pregame meal, meetings, etc. But in the midst of that, you do get to, interact with the fans. You have a lot of alumni that show up that have access to us. So that's great. Regular games like non-conference games or not homecoming, those are great. The energy is the same, but there's nothing like rivalry games and homecoming games. Like you said earlier, anytime we played a Southern or a Jackson State, you already knew. at 6 in the morning, you're gonna walk outside, you're gonna smell the grills, you're gonna see the people tailgating, you're gonna see everybody outside cooking breakfast. And that just once you see that, that brings the excitement from the time you step out in the morning at 6 a.m. It's like, okay, it's football time. um, and then you get to the homecoming, that whole week leading up to the game is just crazy. You got all kind of events going on. Of course, we couldn't partake in any of the events before the game, but you hear about it, you see it on social media, and ultimately, it's hard to stay focused because you have so many distractions going on. You got the students doing one thing, you got the parties, you got the alumni. Like I said, they're out there having their alumni parties. They're coming to the practices. I'll never forget the first homecoming at Alcorn. We were at practice, and it was a Monday afternoon. And we look around at the practice field, and we see a whole bunch of people in their RVs just pulling in. And I'm sitting there thinking like, well, we still got 5 days left to the game. And then a couple of the older players like John, Arnold, those guys was like, you just wait till Saturday. You're gonna look out there and it's gonna be packed. And sure enough, there was no room for no cars, only standing room. That was the only room out there. So it's a great experience, great atmosphere. Of course, everybody wanna get there and see you win. So that was the main thing. But after the game, a lot of great food, a lot of good time, great music, and just a great experience.
So you were able to celebrate after the fact.
Absolutely, for sure.
Okay, because
And
I
then
always wonder,
the caveat was always
like,
winning.
yeah, the focus is like, I know it's always so hard for the football team, because you got all of that stuff going on. It's like you say, you got alumni coming in, you got just the stuff that's going on campus, you got Greek shows and concerts and all just everything that's going on. And then you got the football team that has to stay grounded because
Yep,
despite all that's going on, everybody's coming there for that game. So they depended on the football team to bring it home while he's doing all this stuff around the football team that the football team can't even participate in. Crazy times.
yep. Coach
Very,
Coach Matt used
very.
to always Coach Matt used to always tell us, well, they don't never remember who performed at the concerts or what happened at the party, but they remember if you won homecoming or not.
He got a point. He got a great point. Absolutely, because it's the conversation from years to come, and then it's always the get back. If you lost, it's
Yep.
always the get back. You got to have the get back. So now, during your time, how did you lead as a quarterback? Because that's a lot of pressure. You're the leader basically of the team. How did you lead as the quarterback?
It was kind of easy for me. So I played quarterback in high school. I was a ninth grade starter quarterback. So I was kind of
Wait,
used to it.
hold on. Y'all heard that second flex? That's a bar. He was ninth grade. He was a
Yeah.
starter. All right, go ahead.
Yep. So I started ninth grade. And like I said, I had three older brothers that played football. So it was like riding a bike for me. So I mean the pressure was never really there. I just looked at it as going out there, having fun, doing something I love to do. Um, and then when I got to college, it was kind of the same. I kind of kept the same mentality. I was always hard worker. I enjoyed working out, enjoyed doing the little things, from the film to working out to getting out there with the guys, even without the coaches there. So it was easy for me. I like to say I'm a natural leader. I do the small things. I enjoy doing the small things. So I will say the hardest thing was kind of just once you get that success and you get to what you think could be the pinnacle is you kind of get a little lackadaisical. So you got to have some guys around you that can keep you grounded, some guys that can remind you, hey, we still got a lot of work to do. But other than that, the leadership part was easy. It makes it a lot easier, like I said, when you got some guys around you that keep you grounded and keep you focused on the main thing.
So, do you have one game or one moment from your Alcorn career that still stands out with you? Like there was like one particular moment, and I know it was a
Oh, for
lot of moments.
sure. For sure, the
Okay, what's
Southern
that
game,
moment? Give us that
absolutely.
minute. Give us that moment.
It was the Southern game for sure. I'll never forget that game. I like to think of that game as my coming out party for sure. It's so crazy because that was the first game that it was a downpour, the weather was horrible. So as it was going on, I'm always prepared and ready on the sideline, of course, but you never expect it to happen the way it did happen. I think it was the second play of the game when John went down, and then it was like it was go time. So you don't really have time to think about it. You just reacting. You just going and going and going. And that game, it was I remember it as a blur because I just remember going in and just thinking to myself, okay, this is what you've been waiting for. Now you got your chance. Don't look back. Don't leave no room for error at all. And ultimately, that's what I did. My teammates, they did such a good job of just speaking life into me. As soon as I stepped on the field, like, okay, yeah, we finna go. They had no doubts in their mind, even when I wasn't the starter. It was like, oh, we still gonna win this game even with the starter down. So that played a major role. And me believing in myself, I knew the type of work I put in. I knew the work ethic I had. I knew when my time did come, I would be prepared, and I most certainly was prepared. So that game, like I said, was a blur. I just remember a lot of running, a lot of rain, socks soaked, cleats soaked, and it turned out to be a really fun game. I remember the guys was sliding in the puddles and everything, everybody just diving, and we got the win, and that was the most important thing.
Of course, that's your favorite game. Of course, that's your favorite game, and y'all got to win. Of course, of
Yep.
all the games, of course, the Southern game was gonna be. And so, and that's always the most important thing, especially when you got rival games. And we know over time these games have gotten really, really intense. Um,
hmm
but as a quarterback, what was one of the toughest? Let's see what like the toughest adversity that you had to overcome as a quarterback.
The toughest adversity, probably being injured. Definitely being injured, and you know still wanting to compete at a high level. I went through it. John went through it. The quarterback Noah Johnson went through it after me. So that's probably the hardest thing, just being injured. And it's not like a selfish thing. It's just being a competitor. You want to compete at the high level. You want to, contribute to the team's success. So that's definitely the hardest thing. But ultimately, um, we had a great quarterback room. We were all for each other, and we knew if one guy went down, next man up, and we was gonna cheer that guy on, whether we wanted to be in there or not. So being injured was tough, but I was glad, I had a guy behind me that could still lead the team to success and still keep the team going.
So it's crazy that you say that because I was having this conversation with a couple of my friends and we were saying this, they were saying the same exact thing. They were like, the thing about it, if one went down at Alcorn, the one coming in behind was just as good. So it's like
Yeah.
you just getting tear after tear after tear after tear. It wasn't no losing. It was just like you just getting great quarterback after great quarterback. And to your point, y'all did have a great quarterback room, which is why I said I was glad when all y'all graduated. I was glad when your time was over because it was literally those were the great times. You're not saying that things can't be, but those were really great years for Alcorn. It really was. Now, for people that are outside of HBCUs, we know they don't really understand the level of play, the culture that we have. What do you tell those people that are looking at HBCUs? What do you tell those people about athletics over at like a Alcorn, a Southern, a Jackson State, Alabama? And what do you tell those people about athletics at HBCUs?
I tell them the game is just as fast. Like you got big guys, you got fast guys. There's really no difference. Everybody's out there competing to the best of their ability. Everybody's giving 110%. The only thing I would tell them is maybe the biggest difference would be the facility wise. The Power Five schools, they have, the million dollar facilities, the $1 million recovery rooms. That's one area we lack in, but we make up for it, and using what we have and maximizing that. But when it comes to athletics, I don't think there's a drop off. Like I said, the same type of athletes you find at a Power Five school, you can find them at a HBCU, and I'm so glad that I didn't get to play against Shador, but I'm so glad that he went the route he did because he's a perfect example. He started out at Jackson State, now look where he's at now. So, anytime somebody do bring up that conversation, I point him out and say, "Hey, here's a guy who went the same route, that I did, went further." So that stereotype of there's a difference in athletics or athletes, that stereotype is no longer valid.
Well, that's a great point. That's a great point. So let's flip it over to game day. Game day.
Okay.
If you can remember, what was the songs that you listened to? What was your motivation? What kind of music did you listen to on game day?
Let's see. I had quite a few. I would say Phil Collins, In the Air. That was one of
Y'all
them.
see, y'all may not know about Phil Collins. I know about Phil Collins, but in the air tonight is real. That's it's a vibe. It's a
Yeah,
vibe. It's
yeah.
definitely a football vibe.
So I'm listening to that one right before I go on the field. I'm listening to that right before I go on the field. What else? A lot of Lil Wayne. Uh, let's see. It was so much. It was so much. I had a playlist. I just click the playlist and just let it go. Just sit there, and then sometimes we would have those games like rivalry games where we would just cut off the music and we would sit in silence. And we would just like really lock in, focus on the objective, and put the phones away. Nobody's on their phone. There's no music in the locker room. Everybody's just sitting there with their game face on. So, a little bit of both, but the playlist always came in handy. On the bus trips, the long bus trips to keep you focused. But anytime we play in a Southern, a Jackson State, or a Grambling, we turning the playlist off, we turning the music off, we putting our game face on, and we were getting ready for war.
So I'm gonna assume which one of those games. I'm just gonna assume one of those. What game did you look forward to the most? Let me just ask you that,
Out of those.
or just in general.
In general, had to be Jackson State. I mean,
Okay.
everybody always say if you do anything, you gotta win against Jackson State. You can lose the rest of them, but we do not lose to Jackson State. No matter what, we don't lose to Jackson State. So always look forward to that one.
So now, what advice would you give young quarterbacks coming up today? Ones that might want what they want to go to Alcorn, they want to go to another HBCU, or they just want to play football in general. What do you tell those young quarterbacks?
So the first thing I tell them is you got to be committed. If you're not committed, you can't expect to get the type of results that you want to get. That's just a simple thing. You got to be committed to what it takes. You got to be committed to being coachable. You got to be committed to being prepared. There's so much that go into the game of football, not just a quarterback, but quarterback specifically. You got to be committed because you're the leader on the team. You're the coach on the field. You take on all the responsibility of the other 10 guys on the field. You have to know what they're doing, when they're supposed to do it, where they're supposed to be lined up. You have to know everything. So that's the first thing I tell them. You have to be committed to what comes with that role. If you're going to be overwhelmed, if you're going to get rattled, if you easily, emotional, can't be a quarterback. You got to be able to you got to be able to control your emotions. You got to be able to stay even keel the entire time. And then the next thing I would tell them is you got to have a short memory. So you got to be able to throw a touchdown in one play and then come back and maybe throw an interception and still have that same level of confidence the third play. So because at quarterback, you never know. You can have a great game, you can have a great series, and in the next series, you might come back and throw an interception. So you got to have a short-term memory, and you got to be able to move forward because in the football game as quarterback, if you thinking about that last bad play, your next 5 plays are going to be bad as well. But
Mm.
if you can stay even keel, if you can stay focused and continue to have that momentum, then you'll be just fine. And then the last thing I would tell them is always have fun when you playing. At the end of the day, we all grew up playing football as a game. And to this day, it's still just a game that everybody out there loves. So if you're not out there having fun, then that's the first thing you're doing wrong. Because if you're out there being serious and, getting too involved, getting too emotion, that is not going to turn out.
Yeah, he dropping the quarterback nuggets. He telling y'all the gems. He telling y'all what to do. I mean, that's for y'all that want to play quarterback. I mean, that's not me. But he dropping the gems for y'all. And that makes a lot of sense. So now, Celebration Bowl. Do you ever think back to Celebration Bowl and something you would have done different besides win, of course?
Hmm.
What else would you do? You think about that because that was a lot of trips to Celebration Bowl. Do you think about Celebration Bowl?
I do. I do. Actually, a couple years back, I went back and rewatched it, just to watch it, from a spectator's point of view. And I don't think there's anything, like you said, other than win that I would prefer to change. I do look back on it and just reminisce about, the time we had leading up to the game, the experiences we had, the teammates that were there. But ultimately I think that was a great game. Well, I take that back. One thing I wish I could change is Tariq Cohen's game. The game he had when we played him. That'd probably be the only thing I would change. But no, he had a great game. Shout out to those guys. But that experience was one of a kind. Atmosphere was great. We got to play in Georgia in the Falcons Stadium, so that was a one in a lifetime thing for me. But other than that, everything was great. I love it. Shout out to all the guys that was down there with us. Didn't pull it off, but left a lot of blood, sweat, and tears down there. And I believe we have some memorabilia in the College Football Hall of Fame down there. So that's a plus as well for being the first team to play in that Celebration Bowl.
And so here's another thing. Not only were they the first team, but they were also the last because they
Yep.
imploded the Georgia Dome. So to
Yep.
be able to say that and I was there, I was covering to say you were able to do that. It was, and Tariq he did. Yeah, it was a major game, but Alcorn traveled really well. That was, and after that, everybody just. But I don't think. Well, I haven't missed Celebration Bowl since inception, and so it's always good to see different teams. Going there. But I always wonder, how people be like in the NFL and they be looking back to games they lost like 40 years ago and they be like,
Yeah.
sometimes I just go back and watch. But yeah, I always wonder about things like that. So now let's fast forward. Life after football. How did football prepare you for life after the game?
Um, I say it prepared me. It prepared me to be able to, deal with the ups and downs of life. Like I said earlier, as a quarterback, you can have a great drive one series and then a bad drive the next series, and that's just like life. You have good days, you have bad days. But the main thing is you got to be able to keep going on those bad days, and you got to be able to keep going when it's good. But of course, it's easy to keep going when it's good. That's the easy part. But yeah, no, it prepares you for life. It makes you tough when things aren't going your way. Um, you tap into that thing inside of you that makes you keep going even when it's tough. On those days where you don't feel like going, I just think about those practices where I didn't feel like practicing, those workouts where we're out there in that Mississippi heat and coaches making us run 110s. You think about that. If I can make it through that, then I can make it through one bad day of, not being able to want to do something.
Wait, you from Florida, right?
I am.
Well, it's not hot
It is, but I don't know. It was something different about that Alcorn heat. It was
there.
something
Okay, it's a
different.
different type of Mississippi
It's
heat. Oh,
it's a
okay.
different type for sure.
Okay. So now what are you focused on now, both professionally and personally? What are you doing now?
So now I'm teaching and coaching football now. So the game of football is always gonna be a part of my life. I don't think that'll ever change while I'm here. Um, I'm coaching in Panama City, the Bay High Tornadoes. We just had our banquet last night, so got to see a lot of the guys. Had a great season this year, finished 9-2. Lost in
Nice.
the first round of the playoffs. The quarterback I coached had the best season of his high school career. He was a senior this year. Um, Ended up being the all-time school leading passer. So shouts out to him. So been doing that. And personally just trying to become a better person. I got two little boys, Andrew and Ashton, my sons, 6 and 4. So that's the light of my life right there. So take them to practice with me, take them to the football games, basketball games. So just focus on that, growing as a person, a dad, and as a coach. And then one day, hopefully, end up on the college level coaching as well.
And the kids gonna be coming right behind. They gonna be playing football too. I don't think they stand a chance if uncles and everybody else
That's
can play
right.
football. They gonna have to play too. I just
Yep.
noticed that your sweatshirt was that Alcorn 4P. I was
Oh, yep.
thinking that you
Yep.
say that was for the football for the high school, but then I see 4P and then I see the A. I was like, oh, that's Alcorn. Okay,
Yep.
makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. So now, what do you want people to remember about Lennoris Footman as a person and a player?
Um, as a player, I want them to remember me as somebody who, went out
And
there and
not
gave
that
them
game against Southern. Not that game. Not the first game when y'all was out there splashing and rolling in the mud.
well, I think they're gonna remember that no matter what, even if I don't want them to. But besides that, I just want them to remember me as somebody who just enjoyed playing football. Came from a small town where not a lot of people go to college, not a lot of people get full scholarships to go play football. So I really pride myself on that. So I want them to remember me as somebody who defied the odds, who created a pathway for the people who look like me, come from the place I come from, and defied the odds that a lot of people don't defy. They don't get to, go to college and earn a degree through a sport that they love to do. And as a player, I would just want them to remember me as somebody who, like you said, was a part of this four Pete right here, who,
4P.
yep, who that legacy at Alcorn, who turned things around, was a part of that. Not just myself, but a lot of guys that was in that class before me, in the class that I was a part of. And just remember me as a winner. Anytime I get to go back, I love seeing all the alumni, love, being at the tailgates, reminiscing about all the games, and just having that fellowship. So hopefully they can remember me as somebody who just enjoyed being there, humble guy, um, always enjoyed playing the game of football and love being around my people at Alcorn.
Now, do you have a mentor? Anybody that like mentors you? Anybody that you looked up to?
So I have several. So the head coach at the school I'm at now, he was my high school head coach.
Okay.
So he's been mentoring me pretty much since then. Anytime he has a coaching position open, he's always calling, "Hey man, can you come out here and coach with me? I need a quarterback coach." So I've been, following in his footsteps. And anytime I can get in touch with Coach Simmons, I pick his brain, try to speak with him. And then my older brother, Montre Johnson, he's probably my first mentor. So he's the person that took me to all the camps, had me out there running hills when it was just me and him. Drove me up to Indiana by himself, just really pouring into me, really showing me that, hey, all you got to do is take care of the football part, and I'll make sure you get to where you're going. So that's just a few of the people who I look up to, who mentored me on my journey. A lot of people, of course, I can't name them all, but those three played a big role.
Okay. So before we wrap it up, we're gonna end it on the hot seat. You just got to give me your answer. The first answer that comes to mind. You can't think about it. You just got to give me the first answer that
Okay,
come to mind. You ready? So you start
all
rubbing
right,
your
let's
hands. You
let's
gotta let
do
me
it.
know. This is not. It's just like you start rubbing your hands, ready for it. All right,
Yep.
ready. All right.
Ready.
During your time at Alcorn, who was your favorite teammate?
Favorite teammate? I would say Jalen Harness.
Okay. Who was the toughest opponent that you faced?
Toughest opponent? Um, Celebration Bowl, North Carolina A&T.
Okay. Who has the best road environment when you're playing in the SWAC?
Best road environment?
Hmm.
Grambling for sure.
Okay. One word to describe Alcorn.
One word to describe Alcorn. Um, Country.
Outside of football, what's your favorite sport?
Outside of football, favorite sport? Basketball.
Favorite touchdown or drive that you can remember?
The touchdown in the Celebration Bowl to my man Tonka George.
Okay. Flats or drums?
Both.
That's so greedy. That's so greedy. Okay.
But I
Lemonade
go
or tea?
go flats.
Okay. Lemonade or tea?
Lemonade. Lemonade.
LeBron or Jordan?
LeBron.
All right. Final question. Name 5 HBCUs and Alcorn cannot be one of them.
Okay. You got FAMU, Southern University, Jackson State, and Prairie View, and let's go Howard.
Okay. I can take that. I'll take that. If you had the name Southern, I was gonna think something was really going on here, but I'll take it. I'll take it. So I will say thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really, truly appreciate seeing where you are now. It sounds like you're still doing wonderful things, especially when they can call you up like, "Hey, come coach." That
Yep.
means that you have done a great job, and you're still doing a great job with what you're doing. It is so good to hear that you still the man, you still reminiscing, you still telling the story, and it's great that you could take us back down memory lane. I say Alcorn made you, football shaped you, and the journey still continues. Lennoris
Absolutely.
Footman, salute the GOAT and one of the SWAT terrorists. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it for sure.
All right, well, you be safe and good luck on your next venture with those guys out there. And the two little boys, I look for them in about 10, 15 years playing
Yep.
football.
They up next.
All
You
right.
be safe as
Thank
well.
you. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye bye.